Good morning, and welcome to the Financial Optimist. And today I'm going to show you why I think the future of the Social Security Department is the same fate as the Soviet Union, and what you can do about it. So let's dive right in. So many people will say online things like, Social Security is going to run out of money by this year, by that year. Well, according to this news article from Fortune magazine, it says that by the year 2033 is when they will be depleted of money. That's only 8 years from now. And what will happen at that time is they will cut benefits by 23%. So it's not going to go away. It just means they're going to pay you a bit less money because they have less money coming in and they don't have enough going out. So Social Security will still be around for a while, but the amount they give you is going to be smaller than it used to. So is there any other factors that can prevent this from happening? Is there any other mitigation factors that perhaps will delay this? Well, actually, yes. There's one that already happened. It's called COVID-19. And this chart here shows us there was about 1.1 million deaths in the U.S. from COVID-19. And you'll notice here, for the age brackets under 50 years old, it was very, very few deaths. Over 50 accounted for the vast majority of the deaths from COVID. The largest age bracket was 85 and older, more than 300,000 deaths from COVID-19. So that's about 1 million people that either currently are or in just the next couple of years will be collecting Social Security that no longer are. So that's a pretty statistically significant number of people. And you have to think, okay, what if there was another disease in a few years that came out and the numbers were much larger? Would that potentially push back this date by a few more years? It's possible. And of course, if you're watching me from the Social Security Department, please don't get any ideas. So, with that said, there's something else to consider, and that is inflation. We've all seen it. Prices go up every single year. And when it comes to the Social Security Department, one thing they do is they actually do raise the amount of benefits you get every year by a small amount, but it's not quite enough. So let's say, for example, inflation's at 4%, Social Security may raise the benefits by 3%. So it's not quite enough to offset the difference, but every year you fall just a little bit further behind. So this article here shows us that Social Security has lost 34% of its buying power since the year 2000. So over the last 25 years, if you've been collecting Social Security, you're buying about a third less things now than you were 25 years ago because prices have gone up faster than Social Security. Now this also means that for the next 8 years, they're going to be making minor increases to Social Security every single year, and then it'll be a 23% cut from whatever the current number is in 2033. So it'll go up first and then start going down after that as they have to make cuts to make it more affordable for themselves. So you have to think it's a double-edged sword where on the one hand, you could have the actual amount you get going down in a few years and prices are going up, meaning Social Security is going to get squeezed on both ends, and it's already a struggle right now. And especially consider this. This right here is very, very concerning. There's 22 million seniors who rely only on their Social Security. They have no other retirement whatsoever. So out of every 10 recipients, 4 of them only have Social Security and nothing else. That's really very concerning. So there's 31.8 million seniors that currently get by on less than $2,000 a month, and Social Security is 100% of the income for about 21.8 million of them. So if you're someone currently on Social Security, that's a tough spot to be in, and according to the numbers, it's about to get even worse in just a few years. So if you're someone currently of working years or thinking of retiring the next few years, you need to do some financial planning before you retire. You may have to work a couple more years because this right here is going to be a major problem moving forward. It's already a problem now, but it can get worse. So this here is a survey that many people were asked, how many of you think you're not getting one dime from Social Security? They think they're getting absolutely nothing. Well, Gen Z, it's 45% of them think they're getting nothing when they retire. For millennials, about 39%. Gen X, about 25%. And for boomers, only 10%. So, okay, look at these numbers, and they think they're going to get absolutely nothing. Now, is it possible Social Security could go completely bankrupt and they shut down the entire program? Sure, they could, but that's not likely to happen. Instead, what will happen is Social Security will go the way of the Soviet Union, which means you still will get paid money, just next to nothing. So after the Soviet Union collapsed, the various pensioners who worked for the Soviet Union are still receiving money to this very day, but the amount of money they get is pathetically small. For example, here in Estonia, they get up to $434 per month, but down here in Tajikistan, only $30 per month. So you look at these numbers, you realize this is only a couple $100 per month. That's not enough to live on. So yes, the system is still around. You were promised a pension, and back 40 years ago, this actually was a good amount of money to have back when they retired, but now it's nowhere near enough. And you look at all these countries, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, Moldova, Ukraine, Georgia, Kyrgyzstan, Armenia, Turkmenistan, all less than $100 a month. Now, keep in mind, these countries are all much more affordable than the US. The US is currently ranked as the 13th most expensive country on the planet. But still, that's not enough. For example, I've been to the country of Georgia before, and when I was there, I rented an apartment for a month, and it was, one of the cheapest apartments I could find, and it was $300 to rent that apartment for the entire month, and utilities were included. On top of that, I was staying there with my brother. We rented it together, so we each paid $150 per month just to put a roof over our head and provide some basic utilities. That didn't include food, that didn't include transportation, that didn't include entertainment. And it was $150 a month per person. In Georgia, they're getting $75 a month. So that shows you it just isn't enough. And mind you, I was there a few years ago, and from what I hear, prices have gone up since then. So you have to think, okay, yes, they're getting something, but it's an absolute joke. So you look at this and you realize if they're planning to cut 23% of the benefits in a few years, possibly more cuts after that. And on top of that, inflation is slowly chipping away at the value of Social Security. That means the Social Security Department will end up just like the Soviet Union, where yes, they are technically still paying you as they promised, but the amount they give you just isn't enough. You can't rely on it. You have to have more than just a pension or just Social Security. This is why I say that the Social Security Department has the same fate as the Soviet Union. Now, you're asking yourself, okay, this is a problem. What do I do about it? Well, the answer is you're going to have your own private retirement fund, the most common of which is a 401k. So here, this shows us 401k balances by age. So Gen Z has about $14,000 saved up for the 401k, Millennials around $67,000, Gen X over $187,000, and Boomers about $240,000. So that's about $250,000. So this is the 401k. Typically here in the U.S., you pay into a 401k. Your employer will also contribute to it. So when you retire, you have a lot of money in there. But a 401k has a few problems. Like typically, you can't access the money till you're about 60 years old. And if you try to withdraw the money early, there's all kinds of penalties and fees and whatnot. So there are some limitations to it, but overall it is a very common way to save money. So that leaves one more option after that. And that would be private retirement savings. And this here shows us young men under 35 would only have about $19,000 of retirement savings, and it goes up with age. And it peaks here in the 65 to 74 age bracket, right around $200,000 of savings. So you look at that and you realize, is that really all that much? $200,000 of private savings, plus about $240,000 of 401ks, plus you have the value of your home, a few $100,000. So a lot of boomers may technically be a millionaire on paper if they have a $500,000 home, plus a 401k, plus some retirement savings, and of course you have Social Security on top of that. But keep in mind, this retirement savings does have some advantages. Unlike the 401k, access it whenever you want. If you need to make emergency repairs to your car or to your house, you can access the money today. No early withdrawal penalties or fees. And of course, if you ever have some other type of catastrophe, like let's say you have to hire an attorney, whether a criminal or a civil attorney, you have money available today. For example, there's a guy I know. He told me that in order to get custody of his daughter after a breakup, he had to spend $55,000 in attorney fees just to keep the custody of his daughter. And he was about 50 or so, which means he likely spent about half of his retirement savings with just one legal battle. So you have to think, okay, if you're involved in a legal matter in retirement, you have to hire some attorneys. You could potentially substantially deplete your retirement savings if you only have $200,000. So this right here is a number which I think needs to be much, much higher. In my opinion, to retire comfortably in the U.S. as a single individual, you need to have about $1.5 million. If you're retiring as a married couple, about $2 million. And if you want to retire in one of the more expensive states like New York or California, you'll want to have more like $3 million. Because the U.S. is a very expensive place to live. And in order to become a comfortable middle-class retiree, you have to be a millionaire. Being a millionaire is no longer rich. That is the new middle class. So with that said, I think the best strategy moving forward is to max out your personal retirement savings, and you just, savings in general, investments, that sort of thing. Put as much as you can in there, and ideally have well over $1 million when you retire. Plus, on top of that, have a 401k. That can be part of your retirement as well, because you do get that employer pay match, which does help grow your money faster. And on top of that, there is also Social Security as well. So if you have all three, Social Security and a 401k and a substantial savings, that right there is the best plan moving forward. So if you're a young man like me and you have decades of work ahead of you before retirement, that's what I plan to do, is increase my retirement savings and then have a few other things as well. That way I have plenty of money to go, more than enough, and if I die with extra money to my name, that can just become an inheritance. And so that, I think, is the best plan moving forward. So if you're someone that's, nearing retirement age, you're going to retire in a couple years, you're going to have to do some retirement planning and have a little extra money saved up, because 2025 is an expensive year to live in, and it's probably not going to go any cheaper next year. So with that said, if you have any questions, drop them below in the comment section. Otherwise, have a great day, and I'll see you next time.